There has been considerable activity on Lower Vancouver Island, the island, BC in general, around the marine sector, around the defense sector. It's getting extraordinary amount of attention out of Ottawa. And on Lower Vancouver Island, I'm involved with numerous different activities helping to promote the marine industry through the Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, through the Sydney Breakfast Club, through a variety, and doing these interviews and talking to the key players in the marine industry. And I'm very glad to talk today to Chad Hay of Seaspan. Good afternoon, Chad. How are you?
Hi, John. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time and great to see you again.
Absolutely. Well, it's not often that we get a company of your size, your capacity, your influence in the marine sector. I understand you are the Director of Industrial Participation and Strategic Initiatives for Seaspan. And we would like to know, Seaspan is one of those companies, right? It's sort of like saying, well, I'm a member of the provincial government or something, like it's so big, you kind of don't entirely know. It would be great to know from your perspective, what does C-SPAN do? Where are you located? Sort of thing,
Yeah,
just to give us some
absolutely.
understanding.
Definitely. We won't go to the high level, but just kind of keep it at that point. Yeah, obviously, yeah, it's a huge company. Seaspan, we're one of the largest private employers in BC currently. We have over about 5,300 employees, and again, that's over three larger facilities. In here, where I currently am today, in beautiful North Vancouver, BC, as well as that's a Vancouver Shipyards facility where all the new construction work is happening under the National Shipbuilding Strategy. So we've heard a lot about that and some of the opportunities that will bring for local suppliers, which we're going to speak to today, and local businesses, as well as Vancouver Dry Dock, which is a repair overhaul facility, commercial dry dock, just down the road from the Vancouver Shipyards location. And then, of course, closer to your home is over in a beautiful Esquimalt, is the Victoria Shipyards VSL, where a lot of the work is happening around cruise ship repair and maintenance in the summer months, as well as some of the Victoria in-service support work with our friends at Babcock, where Victoria Shipyards is actually doing the maintenance and planning piece in support with Babcock, and then the actual labor pieces through the folks at the yard. So definitely lots going on. Halifax class work period in service support work as well at Victoria. So a lot going on, and again, lots of opportunities for local businesses to get engaged as this opportunity grows further. Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. You are like a major economic driver in this province and in this country. This is great to have a chance to talk to you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Okay, so how there's been so much chatter about that started last year around Canada needing to improve their defense spending. That has manifested itself over the past year. I've seen yourself involved with numerous webinars, seminars describing how smaller companies might get involved, how to get involved, if they can get involved. And then secondly, so maybe you could explain that. And secondly, has that kind of spending happened yet? Or are we sort of just at the beginning stages of strategizing around that?
Yeah, great question. And it is happening now. Definitely, for what we're planning, or we're anticipating under the NSS for C-SPAN, at least in the local supply chain, is up to 2035. We're anticipating around $20 billion will be kind of grown and contributed to the economy from
Wow.
this work just over in the West Coast. And again, that's also including just C-SPAN, but also the larger, broader supply chain, as you mentioned. So it's not only us with the 5,000 folks. There's up to 11,000 jobs that are kind of developed and grown on the back of that across Canada. But again,
Amazing.
yeah, but locally, again, that's a great question you're asking, and that's where we're really trying to engage this year, is trying to find those opportunities for small, medium-sized businesses, which again are the core group, right? So yeah, more than half of all of our supply chain across Canada is based with small, medium-sized businesses. So
Oh,
that's
fabulous.
real, yeah,
Wow.
it's really an area where we want to grow as well. But again, we understand the challenges around defense and trying to get involved with that, as well as dual use. It can be it's a huge barrier to entry. So there's a couple of things we're going to talk about today about how we'd like to support that, and a couple of
Yes.
initiatives there. But
Excellent.
again, currently around $3.4 billion of contracts have been awarded from the Seaspan book of business, book of work with Government of Canada. That's the Navy and Coast Guard. Again, that's across Canada. With again about 840 suppliers, half of those being small and medium businesses. So it is happening. It's just that it's challenging to engage with the prime, but we're here to try to, get involved and help that to make
Well,
that entry over the line. Yeah.
I have to say that yes, challenging engaging with a prime, which is how companies your size are characterized, but you are demonstrating leadership and vision in accomplishing that goal by coming on board with podcasts like this. Generally speaking, I bet you speak to CBC and CTV and those sort of things.
No,
And here we are in a little podcast that
nope.
represents Lower Vancouver Island. That is leadership. Okay. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Seaspan. But now how maybe you can describe a little bit of okay, not everyone can work with you, but if somebody or is entitled to work with you, but if they would like to try, what would you suggest are the first stages or things they might do besides getting your email address, I suppose, which is not
Sure.
fair. That's not fair to you. But tell us the process, please.
Great. No, and you know what? We do appreciate the relationships we do have and growing those. And in Vancouver Island, as part of some of the VISC in-service support submarine work and Halifax class work period work, we have a large group of small and medium businesses, and we have great relationships with those folks. But again, that's due in part to the relationships that have been built over many years.
Hmm.
But great question, John. How do you get involved? Again, these outreach events, this is what we're trying to focus on in 2026. And again, with a whole bunch of work coming in the pipeline, we're working with the province of BC quite closely. They've issued a Look West strategy, which
Uh-huh.
came out, I believe, the end of last year. And the plan there is how do we bring more defense work from the federal landscape into BC? And there's several programs that you're probably hearing about kind of in the news and social media about what that might look like. And we're trying to work with the province to say, we need more of this work locally to support the small and medium businesses. So that's definitely on the outlook. But again, back to your question, how can we support and drive that? One of the things we are doing this year, which again, love to have your listeners attend, is we'll be holding a supplier Marine Defense Industry Day for Seaspan. That'll be happening in October of this year.
Oh yeah, let's
Yeah,
advertise
so
that. Fabulous. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we've just gone live with that. So John, what we'll do is maybe share the link as part of
Yes.
this session. It'll be fantastic. But it will be based in downtown Vancouver, October 19th, and it's open to again as many SMEs and small businesses as possible that we can get together, and we'll be having our buying team, procurement team on site for in-person B2Bs. We'll be providing information about the projects that we're currently working on, where the opportunities lay, and how folks can get involved.
Oh wow, that is just
So
great.
yeah, and again, speaking to your point about how do you get involved, how do you participate, we'll probably have a session on, most likely we will have a session on how suppliers can get involved and the
Ah,
requirements needed. Working with primes and other defense contractors, definitely there is kind of key considerations that can be a little more challenging in terms of requirements, certifications, registrations through different
well,
bodies. But
Chad,
yeah,
as long as folks are aware of those, as long as representatives like yourself are willing to say, "Hey, we'll help. We'll make this as transparent as possible." What else can you do? But you've built the bridge, and now we got to walk over it. So if there is an opportunity for you and I again to talk just about this maybe in the fall,
sure.
just
Yeah.
before October, that would be fabulous. This is much appreciated. I do know that I think you have a supply portal. Is that something you would encourage folks to
Yeah,
look at?
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So that's always a bit of a fallacy with primes and how does that actually work? But it's in our sense we do use it quite heavily. Whenever we have
Uh-huh.
a new procurement in the yard, if it's either as part of building a specific vessel or as part of more shipyard capex. There's a lot of projects, expansion projects on the go, and that will continue on as the growth kind of happens at Seaspan shipyards. So supplier.seaspan.com
Mhm.
is our portal. Again, it's one of those things that it takes a little bit of time to get in and navigate, but if you can even enter in your basic data, who you are, what services or offerings you have material wise, Um, that's really helpful for us. And our team lets you go through and search that on any new procurement. So step one is definitely sign in for that, get involved, get engaged as we are today. That really does help. A lot of the connections that we make in events, we note that with the teams. We try to find those connection points, but I know there is a frustration generally about that, and it's a
Well,
bit of a lot to navigate, but
you're a
the
big
opportunities are there.
company, and the worst thing that could happen here is that I'm saying this hypothetically, any big company could just decide not to care about the smaller companies, and you guys do. And
Appreciate
that,
that.
there'll be some bumps in the road, but the fact that you're making yourself available, that you're making yourself accountable, that you're making these processes available to the public is extraordinary. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, C-SPAN. I hope that we'll do numerous other, podcasts to explain maybe the bits and pieces of these things.
Of
It's like dealing
course.
with government. I had a online learning company, and I worked and for us to get business, we needed to deal with school boards. We needed to deal with specific agencies within government. Well, if those groups receive funding, I would find that out through BC Bid, and then I would phone those companies, and then that they would offer small bits of that RFP out to bid and out to tender. That's how that works in Canada. And we had a good business. So folks have now got to learn how to do that. And you're being extremely available. Thank you very much. I have a question before we leave,
Of course.
because I'm sure a lot of folks are going to get excited and contact you. But do you sense that in the sort of colossus of work available here, and it is, I'm calling it defense tsunami opportunities, defense spending tsunami opportunities. Do you think that there's enough people? Is there enough skilled trades? I've been involved with the skilled trades issue all my life. I did a bunch of online training. I did a bunch of online training in the States, and this was all around building capacity in Canada. Do we have capacity, Chad? Do we need to work on that?
Absolutely. This is a really good question. And again, happy to bring on some folks on our team that could speak to this better. But
Okay, okay.
it's part of the strategy working with the province of BC again, and some of the local post-secondary institutes. No, there's not capacity. We need to build that.
Wow.
We're seeing a lot of folks, great workers in the skilled trades that are eventually going to be retiring over the next decade, and there's not the capacity yet to build that in, plus with the requirements of the Navy and Coast Guard for the growth needed. No, definitely, it's an area that BC needs to meet the moment in and really drive that. So at Seaspan, we are working on investments through the Industrial Technological Benefits Program (ITB)
Mm,
and
mm.
also NSS value proposition to invest in some local trade schools similar to the likes of Camosun College on the island. Partnerships
Quadrant
with some.
Marine?
Yeah, it's a great quadrant. That's another great one. Songhees First Nations as well too,
Yes.
working with a team there as part of the Camosun College, BCIT, UBC, and to name a few. So definitely the relationships there need to grow and capacity needs to be built.
Yeah.
And it's not just Seaspan. There's a great ecosystem quadrant, as you mentioned, and other folks that they're on the island and across Canada that have a similar problem where unfortunately, it's hard to keep folks employed, and unfortunately, as he spun again, we know that 5,300 employees that are here that takes away from other suppliers and other shipyards and trades. So again, we acknowledge that, and it's our
Yeah.
need to support that as well to
That's
grow.
fantastic. That becomes the bookend to the extraordinary opportunity that's being created by the Canadian government and by great companies like yours. The bookend to that is we need to build out our skills trades inventory, which means people. And so let's always remember that, right? Like, oh, it's so great to get these contracts, but if there's no one there to help you execute them or implement them, there becomes a problem. Chad, this is a great introduction to your world, a great introduction for us into the world of Seaspan. You've been extremely helpful. Thank you. And I really hope that we talk again soon.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it, John.